Hello and welcome to this transit report. Again, a special transit report as we move out of the 30th gate into the 55th gate, first line. And this 55th gate is the gate that governs the codon in our DNA called histidine. And through this mutation of histidine in the solar plexus center, we are now from here till next year, now 365 days, we will experience the crystallization of an awareness center that's been carrying, half of it has been carrying an oscillation or a frequency. So it emits a frequency that is that oscillates. It's up and down. Okay, that's what we call emotions, up and down, elation, depression, all of that sort of thing. The oscillation moves through a sine wave. And so what we see here is we move into the 55th gate, which governs this histidine codon that is going to go through a change and a shift. It has a direct effect on the energy center governing that particular energy. And so the energy goes from being this kind of chaotic, semi-chaotic, because it's a binary in a way, because there's this awareness to it, but there's also this vacillation between this nervous system oscillation. And that's going to begin to flatten out, and what that does is it gives way to a new awareness. So we're going to have a new awareness, okay, taking place as we're in this final year of crystallization and the final year of the cross of planning, which is a 400-year cycle. Every 400 years we change. The Earth changes its global incarnation cross. And so we're moving into this last year of that 400-year cycle, which then at the end of that will start a new 400-year cycle, one that is known in the human design knowledge as the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is very, very different. It's a background frequency that influences humanity on the whole. So for the last 400 years, we've been influenced to strategize and to plan. If you look at the world the way it is now, you can see all these plans and strategies that are coming to the surface that have not been understood or seen clearly. And this is part of this awakening that we've never gone through as a humanity before. We've never gone through anything like this before, because we have never been at this point in our evolution. Every cycle, even though we come back to these cycles over epochs, it will be a different cycle because of the evolution that has taken place in humanity. If that makes sense to you, I hope that makes sense. That, by the time we get back to that incarnation cross, which would be thousands of years later, we are different. But by the way, even if we did get to that incarnation cross again, we can't even speak of it. Can't even fathom it. And FYI, we don't go that far, not on this planet. So this 55th gate is the gate of spirit. It's called abundance, and this is really important where we are in our evolutionary process as a species on in an incarnation planet. Okay, it is a planet that inhabits incarnation of spiritual beings. What makes Earth really unique from many other planets is that it inhabits, or it gives habitation to spirit becoming form. Okay, that's what's unique about Earth. Spirit becoming form. And so if you talk about aliens and all of that sort of thing, my understanding, don't listen to a thing I say, because I'll tell you why in a minute. My understanding of it is that we are still unique within that realm. It's only on Earth that we incarnate in a third dimensional reality. This nervous system interface between heaven and earth. The unseen and the seen. The quantum fixture of matter. That's what's going on here. The 55th gate we've moved into today, from the 30th gate, which was yesterday, coming out of desire into spirit. Abundance is strictly a question of spirit. You see, our emotional attachments to the material world is where most of the distortion arises for humanity. The emotional attachments to the material plane. Even that's why we fear death, but that has been placed in there by design as well. Because once you have a human fearing death, they have a carrot hanging over their head from a stick, that they follow a particular narrative in order to feel safe and secure. And that's never going to be there while there is a fear of death. Why do we fear the inevitable? Now that's a deep, deep program for another time. As we look at this 55th gate, the point of this transmission today is to say we are now in the final year of the Guru, where the Guru this year will probably be exposed on every angle. And when I say Guru, I mean politician, religious leader, teachers, all of that. Now, of course, we have a place for teachers. We do. But we're moving into an age where we all become the teacher. If we can inhabit and embody our personal imprint correctly and interface with other beings correctly, according to one's mechanics and geometry, if we can do that, then what we have is called alignment. And when we have alignment, we allow for the genetic continuity to continue to evolve. The genetic continuity is the genes continuing on while expanding, growing, integrating, and truly moving in a, as it expands, it's also contracting. It's becoming more complex within its own geometry, but a complexity that fits. Now we can only, like anything, people talk about the building of the pyramids. If they had started the foundation incorrectly, the end of that pyramid, when they put the final stones on, it'll be out. This is what we've got to understand, that correctness when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to psychology and biology, within the quantum field in which we live, if we don't understand that what we enter into, if we enter into things incorrectly, if we start something incorrectly, it will fail. It will not finish with a correct geometry if it does not start with a correct geometry. In the age that we're moving into, 2027, the shift takes place, a new background frequency, as I've been talking about. This year is a threshold year. It's a year that stands alone because it is a transitional stage, a portal. And then all of that which has been illusion will begin to crumble and fall away. Only that part of the illusion that needs to fall away. Because the background frequency will be showing us, will be giving us, I don't want to say deeper, but a different sense of awareness within our environment. It will be impressing upon us a different sense of awareness within relationships, within vocation, within family, education, spirituality, all of it. When you change the background frequency, it's like changing the station. You're listening to a different station. It's not the other station. Some have talked about it moving into the fifth dimension. Well, that could be true. We can't possibly know. As far as I understand, there is a movement taking place into another dimension of awareness. You know, it talks in the Bible of heaven and earth will pass away, but my word will never pass away. The word is the Logos, and the Logos is the programming agent of us all. Heaven and earth will pass away, but that which programs us, which is us, that will never pass away. You know, change will never stop changing. And what's most important to understand in this shift that we're in on the 19th of February today, 2026, is that the age of the Guru is over. There we go, just had 1,000. It was 10 minutes on the dot. The age of the guru is over. I mean, it's the gurus are now in the ocean with, and we can throw them a life-saving raft or whatever for them to climb aboard. We have compassion. What is compassion? Compassion, I heard the other day, a beautiful quote of compassion, is no longer fearing the suffering of humanity. No longer fearing the suffering of humanity. And when we no longer fear the suffering of humanity, we all begin to take responsibility for our part in the entire movie. This movie we call reality, that we call our existence. This Gate 55 brings us today an energy of understanding that abundance is strictly a question of spirit. It is our attachment to the material plane that is being challenged and will be challenged over the next 12 months. If we put it into a 28-day cycle, lunar cycle, we have 13 months, if we want to be correct. And as I said, correctness is the basis for the outcome and its correctness. If you start correctly, it will finish. It has the potential to finish correctly. But if you start incorrectly, anything, that first line theme that we're in today, if you start incorrectly, that it will just fail. It will have failure in the end. Because as you go to put that top stone on the pyramid, it will be out of alignment. And it's as simple as that. And that's how we witness and experience broken dreams and hopes and realities, because of our projection that we can plan it. Now, we have been able to do that for the last 400 years. We've been able to listen to the outside authorities, and it's worked for us. It has. But that was in an age when that was meant to be the case. We all needed an outer authority. And this final, at least 50 years, but 100 years, it's become corrupted, because that is what happens when something dies. When it's in the last quarter of its life, of its cycles. I'm entering into that last quarter. I'm not there yet. But that last quarter is really, that's when things can become corrupted if there's no awareness there. The body will corrupt completely because it dies. But the spirit does not need to be corrupted. And this is the point here with this Gate 55 that we're in now. Abundance, the gate of spirit. Abundance is strictly a question of spirit. Let's get into this now. Line 1, cooperation. The expansion of activity through cooperation with powerful forces, through principled actions that guaranteed continue support and engender prosperity. The potential to find the spirit through cooperation with powerful forces. Now, what is a powerful force? A powerful force is an energy that actually is coherent. Only an energy that is coherent can be powerful. Okay, when it's incoherent, it is not powerful. It is distorted. And so what we're looking at here at the moment, right now in this window that we're in, is aligning with the correct forces in your life. Okay, it is aiming for coherence. Coherence within relationship, coherence within self. And what is the outcome of that? It is a stabilised nervous system. When two people come into contact with each other and their mechanics are correct, and the environment is correct, and the timing is correct, then you have coherence. Once you have coherence, then you have the potential for the highest possibilities of expression to come through, genetically speaking. And also, the experience of the spirit is the allowing of what's there to function through coherence. Okay, the spirit literally gets out of the way. The spirit is the witness itself. We are all spirit, and that part is the eternal self. The eternal self. It is that which is witness to the nervous system interaction with the environment. It is witness to it. It talks in the Bible about a sea of witnesses. That is everyone's consciousness crystal. Personality crystal, what we call the psychological crystal, or the spirit crystal. And then we have the design crystal, which is the very physical, and all crystals of consciousness are design crystals if you go all the way back to the beginning, which is, there really is no beginning, because all ends are beginnings and all beginnings are ends. But if you want to go to that nexus point, if you want to get to that singularity point, all crystals of consciousness are design crystals, so to speak. They are potential for form. So this 55th gate, looking at that, the potential to find spirit through cooperation with powerful forces through the cooperation of what is correct for you. How will you know what's correct for you? Your nervous system tells you instantly. Now, for some of us, the nervous system will require us to give, it will tell us instantly. So we might have a yes or no in the moment, but there's still something that's holding. Just wait a little longer on that decision. The nervous system will cause that person to truly feel through the process. Now, that's without dragging in the psychological side of it. A truly free solar plexus system functioning on its own is allowing itself to be observed by the cognitive witness, the mind. Allowing itself to be observed, not bringing in the ajna energy. You can create all sorts of stories with the ajna. You can build imaginations and all sorts of trappings and rabbit holes and all of that with the mind. And you couple that with the solar plexus emotional center, you are now creating a feedback loop that will keep your solar plexus distorted. Now, if you can be clean and clear in your nervous system, you simply allow for the nervous system to move. You just witness its movement. You don't attach yourself to the emotion or attach a story to the emotion. We're always trying to get rid of emotions, but here's the thing. What we're being asked to do now is to integrate, to have integrity. For those that are emotional beings, according to human design, that have a defined solar plexus, they require more time for their nervous system to ride through the waves of emotions without attaching a story to it. Okay, just feeling the body move through. And what the body is doing is processing the decision for what it is that vehicle is meant to move into. It's processing it so the vehicle will enter in correctly. And those that have a defined solar plexus need more time, because, you see, it is partly a motor and it is partly an awareness center. And it's got to go through this. The awareness part of the solar plexus has to allow the motor to go through its full cycle in order that the awareness of that center can know what's correct. So it's simply a mechanic that requires time. Those that have an open solar plexus, according to human design in the body graph, it's on the right hand side. If you look at your body graph, and you'll see a triangle, and that triangle is either colored in brown or it's not. And if it's open, being that it's not colored in, that means you are someone who receives the emotional field. You are a receiver of the emotional field. Those that have that center defined are a transmitter of the emotional field. So those people are transmitting emotional energy into the field, while those that have it open are receiving that energy. So the ones that are truly the barometer of what's going on collectively within the emotional plane are those with an open solar plexus. Okay, so that you don't need to tell someone with an open solar plexus that you're upset. They can already feel it vibrationally. Now, this is going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. We're going to become more sensitive to that as we approach 2027. So you can already see why I'm having a go at the guru at the moment, because where is anyone outside of you responsible for your emotional center to process life? And a guru can't take you through that. The age of the guru is gone because of the advancement of our human geometry. The advancement and the evolution of our human biology is at a point now where outer authority just will not, it just is not correct for a vehicle, a nine-centered energy vehicle, this physical body that we're in, that functions through a specific field of energy known as the aura. And the aura is literally like a membrane that is transferring and transmitting and receiving energy impulses, information. This is where we're going. This is why I'm talking about the rise of the spirit, which is the death of the guru. The rise of the spirit is the death of the guru. You know, I had to put my mentor in his place because he thinks he's a guru, acts like one, thinks he's got an authority over other people, tries to give them oversoul scrolls. Are you fucking kidding me? No one gets to say where your soul is in any incarnation. Look, going back into the cross of planning and into the cross of consciousness previous to that, yes, because we were seven-centered beings. Previous to 1781, we were seven-centered beings, and so therefore an outside authority was correct. So I'm not bagging the gurus and say they were always wrong. It's like looking at these fucking sick pedophiles. If you go way back, the whole civilization were in agreement because of the outside of authority to sacrifice children. But we have evolved. But those that have not evolved, that want to cling on to the past, they have carried that debauchery through into our future where we have evolved, and that is just not fucking, it's not okay, and it's not standard for our evolution. What we know as humans now is that children are to be protected because it is our children, and it is the woman, it is the womb, and it is children that guarantee our genetic continuity. And that then requires the organism to think outside itself, to stop being so fucking selfish and realize that you're here for the future of those that are coming. And while you're at it, you've got to tidy up the shit that you got given. Well, that's the gig if you want to incarnate on this planet. The age of the guru is done. So it is incorrect now to have an outside authority. Almost, we've got 13 months of lunar cycle, 13 lunar cycles to go, of 28 days. We have 13 lunar cycles to go, and then it crystallizes. But you can already see through the Epstein files, all of that sort of stuff, gurus being found out. And you'll find them across the board. So I say to anyone who thinks they're a guru, look, it's time to put that costume off. If you want to guide people, if you're a projector, if you want to guide people, guide them back to themselves. And if you're a good projector, guide them to use their energy correctly. For them. Not for anyone else. We're moving into the age of deep interdependence. This is what it means to live abundantly. This is what it means to live in the spirit. Let's have a look at the detriment of the 55th gate here. The concentration on harmonic relationships with powerful forces that provide for continuity but not necessarily advancement. See what I was talking about, how these sickos have carried over a 6,000-year-old practice that the whole society at the time were all on board with it because they were all fucking in a, they follow an outside authority. So that's where you have this group fucking group psychosis. It's just pure homogenization. The leader thinks it, therefore everyone else agrees with it. That, which has been established for well over 6,000 years, that is done. So if there's a priest involved, kick them to the curb. No more priests. Done. It doesn't work for a nine-centered being. I'm just talking mechanics here. Not talking morals or any of that. But as we can see, the priests are fucking corrupt. Kitty fiddlers and all of that sort of stuff. Okay? We've seen it over the years. The question is, are you going to be complicit to it? Because if you are simply going to go, oh, well, then you are supporting it. Because as long as you're paying taxes and all that sort of thing, and this is a global scale thing, well, then you support it. You're part of it. You're back 6,000 years ago, where it's like, well, it's just the accepted thing, right? No, it's not. Not in this age. Not in this time. And not ever again. And so these worshippers of Baal and these satanic ritualists, they're being found out. Now there's a whole group of gurus out there that profess to be light bearers or profess to be light workers. Be careful with that language as well. Lucifer is known as a light bearer. Luciferianism. Now, I'm not against that either, but it is again another fucking belief system, and that's where we get trapped and we start anthropomorphizing geometries. When we come back to geometry and the understanding that what fits, fits and works, and what doesn't, doesn't, we're seeing a new spirituality at place. Force does not work, only power does. The potential to harmonize with powerful forces, but not necessarily for the benefit of the spirit. That's the detriment here. The potential to harmonize with powerful forces, okay, that which is, they are powerful forces. They have the potential to be correct, but you're just harmonizing with them for the sake of an agenda. Okay, because as it says here, the potential to harmonize with powerful forces, but not necessarily for the benefit of the spirit. When our geometries are correct, when we come together in correctness, and we truly feel into the harmonization of whether the energy is there for that to remain correct or not, that is spiritual, is awareness right there. As I said, the age of the politician, the guru, the priest, all of that is toast. You've got to walk away. So we just simply need to walk away, because if we don't, then we're carrying over into a new age something that is defunct and redundant. It doesn't work in that background frequency. It won't work in that background frequency. And thankfully, it's falling apart anyway. But it's going to be interesting to see how many of humanity grapple, groan, and grasp for that which is passing away, because that is something that we have been programmed to do. It's something it's not even in our nature, but it's something that we have been conditioned to do, to hold on to things, especially those that have an open spleen in their human design chart. An open spleen, holding on to things that are not good for you for too long. I look at the open centers in my chart. I am not here for any pressure whatsoever. I have an open head and a completely open root. No adrenal pressure, please. I can feel. That's what I don't do well with my dog, because in the morning her adrenaline's on. She's like, "Can we go for a walk right now?" I'm not ready. I don't have my root center ready to go. I don't get a choice. Some mornings, yes, fine, but if it's not on, it's not on. And so this is what it means to be spiritual. This is what it means to be spiritual, is to honor yourself as someone that deserves love. Now, I deserve to wait till my root center can deal with the pressure. That's wisdom. I have a completely open root center. Therefore, I have no control over when it's on or off. And if it's not on, I'm not going to walk the dog just because it's putting the pressure on me. Because why am I walking the dog? Because I'm taking in its pressure. But when I truly listen in and I feel that strong splenic, no, I don't want to do that right now, I don't do it. Difficult, right? Because in the world that we live in, even with people that I'm helping to understand their uniqueness, it takes only seconds before they're talking about homogenization again. As soon as the words, we all need to do this, we all need to do that, that's homogenization. That's the program coming at you again from the back door. Beware the guru. As Christ said, beware the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who are like whitewashed tombs, but are filled with dead men's bones. The Sadducees and the Pharisees were the famous people of the time, back in the land of Palestine. They were the gurus. They knew it all. They had all the knowledge. And so everyone, all of society, honored the rabbi. But Christ said they are like whitewashed tombs. Isn't it interesting we get to this time in our evolution right now? Aren't the politicians, they are the Sadducees and the Pharisees, aren't the gurus, the politicians, the religious leaders, these self-professed priests, or ordained priests for that matter, screwing us sideways with propaganda, using propaganda. Like I said, I know people who are well-meaning that are just peddling seven-centered propaganda to humanity. And people could say, well, what's wrong with talking about the seven chakras and that? Look, when you don't understand our advancement and evolution, if you don't understand that we are no longer seven-centered, the seven-centered being was designed for hierarchy. It was designed for hierarchy, and it was designed to follow an outer authority. We are in a new time. We don't have that same vehicle. That vehicle stopped coming off the production line back in 1781. We do not inhabit that kind of vehicle anymore. I know I'm on repeat, but until people get this, they're not going to truly live as themselves. They won't. So this gate of spirit, it's interesting, right? Right now, the planetary alignments, we've got Neptune, we've got Saturn in Aries. This is destroying the illusion of the guru and all that anyway, of the politician, of governance, of the monarchy. All of those hierarchy structures are what are being tested right now. And for all to see. The question is, how deeply conditioned, programmed, and compliant have we become? Because, of course, the agenda of those that want to hold on to an energy that is gone, like to keep us in that seven-centered mindset, to need that outer authority, those that want to hold on to that, they just need to deceive us. And then we never get to experience what is potentially there for us right now. Moving from here, right now, to 13, 28-day cycles of the moon, we will then enter into a new age where the nine-centered being has been designed for. The nine-centered being has been designed for 2027. Thank God, some kind of knowledge came through, the memo came through in human design, and now we have human geometry, which I'll share with you now, that I've brought through for us to have a true understanding of what it means to be human, what it means to be correct, and what it truly means to live in a life of abundance through the spirit. This is everything I'm talking about. Let's look at the theme 55 in human geometry. This is the knowledge that was given to me. Ra Uru Hu was given knowledge called human design. And I was told by a psychic medium that I was going to bring through the new codes of human design. And I've just done that. Okay, so that's pretty cool. But nothing to get fucking all try and make myself infamous about. All of this is really mundane. Spirituality is very mundane. It's just ordinary life being lived correctly, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing, if you allow it. Theme 55 is freedom, abundance, living the spirit of emotion. Living the spirit of emotion. This is where we're going. See, I've changed the language here. This is the 55th gate, but I call it the 55th theme. In human design, we call it the gate of spirit, which is abundance. And in human geometry, we call it freedom. See how they work together. They hold hands. Because once you are truly seeing that abundance is strictly a question of spirit, you find freedom. Human geometry is giving you the codes that are already there, in which when you live them, 13 codes around, 12 codes around one key code. In two placements, you have your nervous system and your psychology. And once you understand those codes, once you see them, and you do, when you see them, you know they're you. But you can see where, some of that has been forgotten about. Abundance, living the spirit of emotion. Theme 55 captures the depth and transformative power of the emotional spirit, echoing Ra's teaching that true freedom emerges when we fully engage with the emotional wave. It's just, as I said before, it's just letting the emotional wave be there. Don't attach a story to it, and it's not painful. It's not painful. When you can detach, when you can practice a detachment from the story, which is ajna, it's a different, use the ajna for conceptualizing and building ideas and constructing creative expressions, but don't use it to fuck yourself. Because when you let the ajna come down and screw the fucking emotional center, they're always interacting, by the way. But if you can allow yourself to be a witness to the story and truly feel through the nervous system of the emotional wave, that is spiritual awareness. It reflects the abundance of life that unfolds when we embrace our emotional nature, allowing its highs, lows, and subtler movements to guide us into deeper presence, compassion, and authenticity. Freedom arises when we surrender to the full spectrum of our feelings, recognizing that each emotional experience invites us into greater self-awareness and clarity. By meeting these waves with openness rather than resistance, we begin to understand the intelligence and purpose carried within emotion itself. When we meet these waves with openness, we begin to understand the spiritual intelligence encoded within them. At its highest, Theme 55 turns emotional turbulence into spiritual abundance and intuitive clarity. Living with emotional honesty becomes a beacon for others, showing that depth and vulnerability are pathways to genuine freedom and connection. Depth and vulnerability brings us back to the guru, the politician, the priest, the monarchy. They used to know better than you. They used to know better than you when we all shared a homogenized seven-centered vehicle. Homo sapien Mark 1. We're now Homo sapien, we, in this window of 260 years only, and then we move into a new background frequency. We have this little slither. Any of us that have incarnated in the last 260 years have incarnated into a very unique window. We have come in to be midwives of a new era. We've come in not knowing that we've been given a new vehicle. The vehicle that we've incarnated into this time round, we didn't realize was different than the one that was coming off the manufacturing line previous to 1615. Sorry, 1781. 1615 is when the incarnation cross global index changed from the cross of consciousness into the cross of planning. So we went from where society was established through conscious awareness through into a society that was built upon planning and strategizing, which is so far from spirit, it's ridiculous. And it's also almost like the highest potential use of consciousness. Consciousness is there, and then it's like, hey, with knowing that, because look at Tartaria, great Tartarian, the technologies we had over 400 years ago, incredible. We were harnessing the ether for energy. Energy was free. Production and all that was worked through consciousness, conscious awareness. There was this understanding of it's not getting caught in the confusion or the it's not being caught by confusion or the abstract. They were allowed, if you look at Tartaria, their whole technologies were expressed like art. It was all expressed like art form. And that's what consciousness really is. It was like a free society with a very high level of experience, technologies, free energy. Previous to that, the cross of consciousness, very different again. And what we do after these 400-year cycles is we literally drop what we were doing the 400-year cycle before, and we begin to eliminate, we begin to bury all of that while we're building a new experience. And that takes to really establish that first 100 to 150, 200 years to really establish, and for that global incarnation frequency to establish its highest potential. Once it reaches its pinnacle, which is a little bit further along than just the middle point, about its 300th year, you begin to get to that pinnacle point at its highest expression, and then it begins to decrease from there as it heads into a new age. This is just part of the advancement. You see, our Earth doesn't keep reincarnating, but it changes like a death and rebirth, its background frequency. Like a death and rebirth, the earth changes its background frequency, which has a direct effect on us humans, because we are the earth. The vehicle is made of the earth, and they are therefore governed by the earth, whereas the spirit is of spirit and is purely a witness to this incarnation life. Again, I come back to if you can really just see, don't believe anything I say, but begin to live the life that you came to live. Begin to truly trust what it is you have. Begin to know and have faith that there are those out there that are correct for you to interact with, and there are those that are not. That doesn't make them right or wrong. That is simply an understanding of mechanics. And as we move into the age of the Spirit, Spirit only does what's correct. It is not, pure Spirit is simply, it has its geometry, and its geometry works because it's just awareness. Awareness only does one thing. It is aware. And what we're being asked, what we've been shown, what we're here to experience in the coming centuries as a humanity is emotional spiritual awareness. Emotional spiritual awareness, which is just pure spiritual knowing. It is correctness known. The reason we go through emotional waves is we don't know if it's correct or not. And the wave takes the whole DNA through this feeling, through the nervous system, so an understanding can arise within the vehicle and then be transferred to the spirit as data. We are a binary consciousness. All of these things, if none of this kind of makes sense to you, it will. It will. Because that's the age we're moving into, where we begin to not have to solve the problem or plan the way. We simply know it. We simply embody it. We simply live it. The age of the guru is over. The pushing of the pulpit, the priest, and its authority over us. The politicians and governments, the governing of the mind in its final year. As we watch it burn, the only thing you need to ask yourself is, how do I want to live as myself? And then let go of that question and simply be yourself. Well, I hope you enjoyed that transmission, and if you're a guru, I'm sure you didn't. And if you're a pedophile, I'm sure you're sweating bricks at the moment. And that's good, because we don't need any of that nonsense moving forward. It's not doing us any favours. Maybe there was a time where all of that depravity served a purpose. I can't know. I know that everything that has existed, it does serve a purpose. So there must have been a purpose in it. But there is no purpose in it for us now. The only purpose that it affords us is the shock treatment that we need to wake up to ourselves, to do what's correct, to let go of moral standings, because it is those that have touted the morals at us that are, morally depraved. It's seeking within the kingdom of God. And then your life is simply lived. Well, don't be a dick. Let there be light until next time. Bye for now.